Hey, AfterBuzzers, tonight the DC-CW crossover comes to an epic conclusion, and we say some goofy stuff. We're breaking down Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, Episode 7, Invasion. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, the dulcet tones telling us that this beautiful experience that we have shared together over this past week has, as all things do, reached its end. We are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how we feel. We're going to talk about all of the things that there are to talk about from this past week in DC TV. But first, I want to introduce this fantastic panel. I am Lex Michael, all over social media at the Lex Michael, filling in lead position for Frank Moran, who you can tweet at HappyGoJackie. He has been abducted by the Dominators. We don't know where he is. But with me is...
I'm Dave Child. You can find me at Mr. Dave Child or DaveChild.com. We didn't have enough budget to include all the characters, so that's why Frank's away on this one. Much like the actual crossover, we can't have everyone in the same shot, only a couple of times.
Don't worry,
It's the only way we can do it. But we do have our own crossover. Right to our left. Who's this?
Hey, it's Tauri J. Miller.
Crossing worlds.
They gave me my own dimensional crossover device. Yeah. And while I'm here, you can find me at Tauri J. TAURIJAY.
You gotta talk that way throughout the entire episode.
I'll do my best.
Okay, great.
I'm just going to talk in a normal voice because I can't top that. And as always, I'm Lacretia Lyon, guys, so you can find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet since there is only one.
All right, so it's done. It's over. It
done.
happened.
All right, bye.
We've been through.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
That was fun. Okay, good.
Great show.
All right.
So all right, that was it. The crossover has come to its end. Before we
Yes.
jump in, I want to get initial impressions from the three of you guys about this episode as an individual story and as a culmination of this crossover. How did you guys feel about it overall?
I thought this was my favorite one out of all of the crossovers. I think I was like looking forward to the Legends one the most. And I guess they wraps everything up, but it actually felt more like a crossover than the actual other episodes for me. Because I felt like all the other, well, at least with Arrow especially, kind of, because it was their 100th episode.
Right.
It was like, it's an Arrow episode, really. But we're going to have a few crossover things, and we're going to bring old Arrow cast members back, and so we can have fun with those old ones. But this one actually felt like everyone was doing something. It had a lot of... You got to see all these arcs that were started in Flash and started in Arrow kind of like wrap up. And that was nice. I like that.
Yeah. I'd agree. Like, though I think that since I'm a big fighty punch guy, of the four, I think Flash was my favorite because it was all fighty punch. But I think this episode really helped solidify, especially in Barry's storyline, how time travel's complicated, and everyone came to realize that, and I like that aspect of it. I mean, the episode itself, I felt like there was a fairly satisfying end to the whole arc of the crossover. There was a lot of heart to it, and I also felt like there were a lot of really fun moments that I think are very unique to Legends, especially because all of them have their own sort of humor. And this one really embraced the wacky goofiness, and I liked that.
I forget sometimes until characters from the other shows show up that Legends is an odd beast.
Yeah, it's the goofy one, and that's what I love about it. And I love how they didn't lose that, but they also were able to wrap up some really good story arcs that started on The Flash and then Arrow. So it actually took itself seriously a little bit, and it worked, because we still did have way inappropriate Mick lines, the cute little dorks like, Ray made it for me. You look like a star-spangled idiot.
Yes.
I want that as a superhero name.
Did he? Oh, boy. Did he? So, we got the reveal of... Because this is the first time we actually see the Steel...
The new outfit,
outfit on him. And It's weird. It's weird. It's bulky, and it's. I'm not a fan.
No?
I'm gonna say I'm not a fan.
Without the helmet, it wouldn't be so bad, but the color scheme is off.
It kind of looks like he could fall over. It kind of looks like his head is too heavy, and he might just tip over. And also, when he's not all silvered up, the arms are just like...
That's when it bothers me, is when he's not steeled up. When he's steeled up, it's like, all right, this looks all of a piece. When he's human skin, it looks
like he's on his way to Magic Mike.
Really?
Yeah.
I prefer it without the steel.
Really?
Yes. Mostly because, especially in the facial area,
Right.
because it becomes this weird, like, shiny, like, beard.
Yes.
You can see...
shiny beard.
I just realized what he looks like. This entire time, I'm like, he looks so familiar, and I can't place it. And he looks like Mega Man.
Yes.
He
Yes.
looks
So-
exactly
Yes, he
like
does.
Mega
Very
Man,
much
except
so.
without the cannon.
It's almost like someone requested Mega Man as part of a weird striptease, and that this is the outfit they
Right.
came up with, because when you made the Magic Mike comment, I'm like,
Yeah, it's
and
kind
his
of like
nickname is
he's a
Buns of
Mega
Steel.
Man burlesque.
Yeah.
But it's, like, specific, like, right after he beat Starman.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's very specific cosplay.
My
Chicks dig it.
assumption is that this will be, how like Barry had his proto uniform, which was basically like a helmet and some tights and some pads.
Yeah.
There's Mega Man.
Yep.
Yeah,
There he is. Yeah, it's actually really similar.
It's very.
that.
He's just.
Exactly
He's
like
just sexy
that.
Mega Man.
Yeah.
So my assumption, nay, my hope is that at some point Steel will get upgraded duds.
And
Slightly.
welcome
so.
to the Legends of Tomorrow panel, Tauri. This is actually what we do. It's much more like Fashion Police on superhero costumes.
Indeed.
We see who makes it
Yeah.
work.
I want him to be reverse Colossus, where he just wears a shirt, no pants, and
Right.
With those buns of steel.
Buns of
Yeah,
steel.
yeah.
Hashtag Buns of Steel.
Yeah.
Hashtag Buns of Steel.
All right.
Send me your tweets. Buns of Steel.
So let's jump into the story of the episode. We see that our heroes who have escaped from the Dominator ship in the previous episode, Saved by the Wave Rider, everybody reunites, and Nate says, well, I looked at the footage and we've pinpointed the Dominator's location in the past, 1951 in Oregon. But right around this point in the story, Dave, is where some of this stuff that you were alluding to starts to happen, where it seems like we're sidelining some people right up top.
Right. Well, there tends to be just... For one, you have this weird... Oh, Ollie. Oh, Oliver. You have this weird thing was like, I want to talk to you, Supergirl. Before we go any further, I think we should have a talk because my feelings are hurt and I do not know how to express it, so I'm going to take it off on you because you're new, you're more powerful than me, and you scare me, and I'm a guy.
In that sense, it's maybe the most on-brand thing Oliver Queen has ever
Oh
done.
my God.
Yep.
Oh, it annoyed me. It was such like, it was the most whiny, nice guy thing to do where it's just like, I feel you're making me feel uncomfortable and you should recognize my emotions, so just, stay away for a second.
He needed a safe space.
Yeah, I guess.
And see, this is what annoyed me, is the last two episodes on Flash and Arrow was the first time I really liked Oliver Queen. I was still questioning if Human Target was in the Oliver mask.
Right.
But this episode was like, well, that's Oliver I know, the douchey. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he was nice in the last episode where he got to really, because he got to kind of mope, and that was the point of the episode, was like a good old mope session. And this time when he's in like a fun, I feel like whenever he's in a fun show, he never quite knows what to do, because like, everyone's having fun. What?
Yeah.
That's not what we do here. I'm going to listen to my death cap and have emotions. Oh no.
I can buy Oliver Queen not knowing how to handle himself in that situation, but for me, it felt a little arbitrary.
And also, like, what arc did that happen? There was no arc there. It felt like we really got only two good scenes with Supergirl and Green Arrow in the beginning and then at the end. So all we got was like, I feel uncomfortable around you. And then at the end, I'm feeling comfortable around you. It's okay. So there was no story there. There was no, like, it wasn't a B, it wasn't a C. It was just this weird, we got to give Green Arrow something.
Yeah, I did like that Kara saved him. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was a good burn because she just looks at him like, yeah, I did that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like especially since last night we had Wild Dog being super weird around the meta. Like, I feel like there's a quota that they have, and they're like, all right, someone's got to feel real weird around new people.
Yeah.
But I also...
Who's the racist one in this episode?
yeah.
Who's got to be racist?
Drew the racist straw.
Oh, guess
call
it's
me
me.
John Racist.
I was like,
Good
what
old
is it?
His name is when he fights.
But like I have to appreciate it from a certain standpoint. I always have to defend it from the writer's standpoint. Like she is the most powerful. She is the one who could essentially turn the tide, and you want to make sure that everyone else has their time to shine and be like, you know, important. Because she could have just flown around blowing up all of the alien ships.
And that's your hour, basically,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But then it would also been like, I don't know. I just felt like all they needed was to have Oliver go like, listen, you need to stay in this timeline in case stuff really gets crappy, and you're our big guns. You need to be here. Let's focus up, and that's enough. It doesn't need to always be drama. It doesn't need to be like a drama relationship. But that was the one weak point of this episode, I think.
Yeah, I ultimately I agree with you guys. I am okay with it conceptually, but I wish it had been handled a little bit more organically. Instead, it did feel to me a little bit like a way to sideline Supergirl for the first half or so of the episode. On a similar note, all we hear about Thea is that we dropped her off at home.
Oh,
which
that's
seems
what you
real
were
weird to me.
alluding to. Okay.
Seems real odd to me, especially considering how excited she was to go fight aliens before.
Yeah, well, I think she got burnt out pretty fast after being like in a cocoon and seeing her parents die again. I think, and killing her biological father, like in this dreamscape too. I think she was like, okay, now I remember why I quit.
Yeah, it's like if you're in an eating contest and everyone's having a good time and you're like, oh, I just had one hot dog too many, and now you're in the corner vomiting. That's her, but with emotions.
Yeah.
And honestly, she's probably like, you guys already have an arrow person. I'm gonna. You don't need like red arrows in this scenario.
Just throw off this whole like superhero fight scene.
Yeah, I think
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's she doesn't even show up to like the ceremony at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she doesn't even get to be a Chewbacca at the end.
Yeah. But so all right, so she's home. She's enjoying herself.
Yeah.
She's relaxing. She's having some cocoa while all of this is going on. So we figured out where the Dominators are in the past, and we know that they're seeking information on metahumans. So the plan is to go back in time and abduct one so that we can interrogate it to determine more about their agenda.
Right, because that's the only place where they know they are for sure.
Right.
And I actually really like how they set this up, because in the first episode, or the Flash episode, they establish that, we have had them come in 1940s, and as soon as they showed that, I was like, oh, that's where we're going to go with the time ship when we get to the time travel people. And they did that, and I thought it was a good choice. I'm surprised it wasn't in Roswell.
Yeah, the Oregon thing was weird. I was like, why didn't they just go with Roswell? Because that's a common story. And
Right.
I mean, there's memorabilia all over the city. Because
Maybe it's because they didn't want to go to a desert.
Right.
Maybe it was just because it's like, well, we have a forest to be by, so let's make it Oregon.
Yeah.
Also, Roswell's real cliche, guys. It's been done.
Right,
Yeah.
totally. And there's one thing that these DC shows never do is cliche.
Totally. Never.
Totally. Never. Never embrace them.
So Nate takes Amaya and Mick, and they go back to 1951, and they bring along Cisco and Felicity, and we get to watch them nerd out excessively.
That was
Yes,
cute.
That was
Yeah.
cute.
I want more of them two together.
Yeah, they're a good team.
Yeah.
There were a number of times tonight where we saw Cisco paired with a character, and we'd be midway through the scene, and I'd go, oh, I've never seen Cisco interact with this person before, and it's great, and why doesn't Cisco have a show?
Cisco
Yeah.
is like, he's become my favorite character, especially since they gave him depth after Flashpoint. He's actually, and that actor's really strong, and he's able to like
Yes.
carry.
Carlos Valdez.
Yeah, whatever is thrown at him, he's able to also move between, I'm geeking out, I'm nerdy, but also I've got feelings.
Yeah, because him in the Kevin Smith Killer Frost episode was just phenomenal, and it's only getting better. I'm like, I like Cisco, and I always have, but now he's become more than the comic relief.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nice. And he's more than just the geeky guy that names stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a trope that I was getting sick of.
Yeah, I just miss Dick Wells with him, because that's my favorite, relationship, the two of them.
Good old Dick Wells.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't get deeper than the Dick Wells.
It's better than Hipster Wells, You got to
Right.
name them. Yeah.
So I agree with you guys. I'm really enjoying that Cisco's getting to. We're seeing different sides of Cisco's character. It's interesting, Dave. I haven't gotten to talk to you about the previous episodes.
Yeah.
Cisco in particular has been pretty divisive as far as audience response to the way the writers have been handling his character, and a lot of people are very grumpy that Cisco is so grumpy himself. Wanted to get. Now that we've watched this arc itself to more or less a conclusion for now, I wanted to get everybody's take on Cisco, specifically on his emotional arc through these 3 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a little hurt the entire time, but he does have a lot to process. And the one time I found it strange, I actually felt it was okay to have him be a little grumpy around Barry and still kind of into what's going on. I did find it strange that he didn't immediately see the irony of going back in time. Time travel, I'm definitely in on that.
Right.
Like when he said it in this episode, I was like, what, dude, realize what you're saying right now. And I feel like that was a bit of a writing kind of shortcut, because we all know where we're heading, but I wish he was just like, I don't know, I wish he was like kind of scared of time travel now.
Sure.
Like he kind of was wary of it. And then he still goes along with it, still geeks out, gets into it too much, and then kind of messes up and is able to relate to Barry in that way. So it was nice to see the arc end and not to have him be like an angry guy from this point on. But that was the one point I felt like was uncomfortable.
Sure. Interesting. I actually liked that he was very laissez-faire. Yep, that's the term I'm going with.
Go for it.
About time travel, because you could tell the whole time that he has been really like down on Barry. He didn't understand the weight that was on Barry's shoulders. So I like that he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and maybe something will happen. Hooray! And then because it made him have that realization a lot more smoother. Because if he was scared of it and then he had gone back in time and been like, my fears are confirmed, then I would have been like, where did those fears come from? Like, because it wasn't established. But I mean, that's just my feeling. But like, I liked his whole arc. I agree with you that he definitely had a lot more depth, and that was kind of what Lex was getting at. And in our previous shows, like a lot of, especially on panels and things, like everyone wanted him to be the comic relief, and I like him as the comic relief. But like the moment that we saw him get murdered in that one timeline that was erased, you knew that this kid had chops. Yeah. And so like I'm glad that he gets to really like splash around and play and be such a layered character, and we get to really enjoy that. And so seeing him go through this arc, I never disbelieved it for a second.
Right.
Any of his feelings, because they were so genuinely played, and the writing allowed us to have the slow burn. We got another piece of it added on when he found out that his brother died because of Barry, and then we got to see him kind of live in Barry's shoes.
Because didn't he also initially, you kind of got the sense that he wanted Barry to go back in time and save his brother.
Yeah.
So that was his big. He wanted to use time travel in that sense.
Right.
And then when he found out time travel was used incorrectly, and to save his own family instead of his brother, that's where he got like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I guess if I was reminded of that, but I guess I was just kind of, because I've been seeing him grumpy over time travel in general these last couple of episodes, I've been kind of like, oh, why is he suddenly not grumpy about it? And I guess I wish it was more focused on the family aspect of it, but
yeah,
I guess it's there. It is there.
So did you guys ultimately feel then the resolution itself, where we end that story, where Sisko ultimately does realize, the magnitude of what he did is similar to what Barry did. He ultimately acknowledges that the two of them can still be friends.
Yeah.
Does all that stuff play for you guys?
I liked it in this episode. I agree with Tori. Is like it made so much more sense for Sisko to be super excited about time travel because he's always excited about these things and aliens, and then to not realize the weight of that until he himself had done it, and then to realize the true weight of what it is to be a hero like Barry or Oliver or Kara. I mean, I really like to see that when we see the side players kind of get that to be in that role.
Sure. Yeah. So while we've got all of this going on, we've got our one team back in the 50s. We've got another team that's going to meet with the new president. We've also got over here. We've got Stein dealing with like this very this quiet character drama happening in the middle of this like big cosmic sci-fi story.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really like that because they were building up to in Legends that he was getting flashes of this woman. I think you guessed that it was going to be a daughter. And that was, I think it was one of us guessed a
in
daughter.
One of the timelines, it was me.
Yeah, and
I think so.
And I was, and that's exactly what it ended up being. And I like that he had to go through kind of recognizing a daughter, like kind of adjusting to it. And I did think he was being a bit too much of a dick.
That's Stein. He's Dickenstein.
Yeah, but he is a Dickenstein. Yeah, and there's a Dickenstein, and I guess that was. I think you can process that. You can see that as him trying to deal with his emotions by being very scientific and being very like, oh well, I just got it. I can't just wait until I have emotions about a daughter. I'd rather just cut her out of my life and just focus on that. So I guess that made sense, and I thought that was really well done. It was actually like a bit of a character drama feelings discussion that makes sense in like in the larger like sci-fi scape that it wasn't distracting for me.
Sure. What about you guys?
I also liked it. I think what I liked the most about it is that there's that moment when he says that she's not real. And you realize that what with them traveling through time and meeting so many people in other timelines, you realize how foggy it is in terms of like what is an actual anchor to a timeline. And so like she is just basically to him at that moment a shadow that he's going to fix, or like a blemish that he's going to wipe away at some point. And so like I got why he was being so distant, because you don't want to this is a weird analogy, but you don't want to take a puppy home if you're going to have to give it back. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say kill the puppy. Well, I was like, it's not that weird to be like take a puppy home. I was like, are you gonna? Because like this is real weird, but you don't want to take a puppy home and disembowel it, and then cook it up and serve it to your children. I mean, I know that's weird, but you don't want to do
stuff, Tauri.
I saved the dark stuff for home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say for the Legends podcast. Because that's where it fits the most. Also, can we talk about, before we move off of this, that we now have Stein Point.
Yes, we have effectively created Stein Point.
Stein Point. Stein Point, where he's created his own daughter. Stein Point.
Make it a thing, guys.
Hashtag Stein Point. Hashtag Stein Point.
So the two of them team up to essentially develop a nano weapon that they can use against the Dominators. And we see the two of them bond over the work. And there's a really cute moment that's late in the episode where they have this moment of epiphany together, father and daughter simultaneously. And I liked it. And Victor Garber's wonderful, wonderful actor.
Yeah, that was adorable. But am I the only one that, as soon as I knew she was into nanotechnology, I was like, well, her and Ray. And that'll be fun because Stein is always making fun of him.
As big as they're this big.
Yeah, they're
tiny,
like
tiny.
They're atom people.
Tiny little kisses.
Yeah.
Tiny little kisses because they're tiny little superheroes. Tiny little kisses.
What is the ship name for this?
Jesus.
Tiny Love.
Tiny Love.
Jeez.
The Tiny Love ship.
Tiny Love.
Tiny Love. I can't wait till Tiny Love happens. Where's my daughter? Oh no! They're having sex on my glasses. Why are they doing that? They're so tiny and having sex.
Because Stein is always like crapping on Ray. I'm like, I just want that to happen because A, the tiny love, but two, it's like
You could
for dick
do
and
a
stuff.
Hashtag
version
tiny
of,
love. Hashtag
You
tiny
could
love.
do a version of that movie that's about to come out with Bryan Cranston and James Franco. Why him? But with Martin Stein and Ray Palmer.
Exactly.
I would
'cause,
watch that.
James Franco and Ray Palmer are a lot alike.
Are they?
Not at all.
All them tattoos
Yeah, I know.
and bad boy attitudes.
Yep.
So in the 1950s, Nate, Amaya, and Mick are kidnapped by our shady government whoozy fella.
Yeah.
Along with the Dominator.
Or it was just a mixture of every smoking man, man in black, horn-rimmed glasses guy from Heroes, all of them combined. Agent Smith, and they actually call him Agent Smith.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he abducts them along with the Dominator, and while they're all sitting in the same room together, they talk to the Dominator, who tells them essentially that they were drawn to Earth by the emergence of the JSA.
Right. Well, and also, they were drawn to Earth by the emergence of the JSA that's actually in the 40s, right?
Yes, and they came to essentially figure out whether or not metahumans would become a threat greater than one contained solely to Earth, whether it would actually threaten them.
So, and then upon seeing the JSA in the original, I think, timeline, they were probably like, nah, they're cool.
Right.
Let's head out.
Or at least they don't seem to be trying to conquer all of space.
And they also said that they got a... together they came up with a...
There was a truce.
Truce.
Yeah.
Yes, I was looking for the word truce. I couldn't find it. And then they were fine up until Flashpoint.
Right.
Right. I mean, I feel like we are to assume that in the original timeline, Smith told the one that they saved, like, tell your people that we mean them no harm. We will never threaten you, blah, blah, blah. And that's where the truce started.
Right.
So in saving him, that was where it was broken, right?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's... Yeah.
Think?
But
I
Time
mean,
travel.
that's what I would
I don't know.
assume.
Yeah, because what did okay, so what did actually Cisco do to cause trouble?
So it seems like what they did was they saved the Dominator in the past and
took
they,
took that little like device.
and if they hadn't been there to do that, then question mark. Then I guess the Dominator never gets saved.
Yeah.
But does the Dominator even get captured if they're not also there fighting it?
No, well,
Time
if,
travel.
If my theory about that Dominator being the truce messenger is correct, then he never delivers that message. There's no one to broker that peace, and all he knows of humanity is that they are essentially monsters. So he escapes, and he's like, some people saved me, but the rest are terrible, terrible people. Let's gather our forces over the next 60 years and return and destroy all the metahumans.
Oh, okay.
seems right, and I like that Mystic Lightning in the chat also picked him for Cigarette Smoking Man from X-Files. I was
Right.
like, yeah, all the creepy FBI conspiracy theorists with the aliens combined. Agent
Right.
Smith.
So speaking of Agent Smith, in the present, we've got Oliver, Barry, Ray, and Sarah, and they're going to meet with who they think is the new president, but is in fact Agent Smith,
Right.
but old
Yes.
man version of Agent Smith.
Old Man Smith.
Old Man Smith.
And we get some punchy fighty, kicky punchy. And I don't know about you guys, but I had to do a double take really quick because I thought for a moment that Barry turned a bullet and pointed it at Homeboy's chest and killed him.
At his heart.
Yeah, I was like, that is cold,
But
dude.
I think it was just the shoulder.
I really think it was a shoulder shot.
So it was fine. But it was a bit like, and now I'm evil.
No, wait, but that's what I was talking about before about Legends is a little weird like that because it's the show, it's like the Batman 66 of the DCCW
Right.
lineup,
Yes.
but every so often Ray Palmer will shrink down and fly through someone
Fly
like a
through a
bullet.
dude. And they won't be like,
Yeah, that did happen.
yeah, I don't know. It's okay. He was like a Nazi or something. That's totally fine.
Or it was the Wild West, guys.
It's
Like
Wild-
the Wild West.
Wow, wow, West.
It's brutal then.
Wow, wow, West.
So they fight for a little bit. Barry admonishes Agent Smith for being so discourteous, and then Agent Smith basically tells them the reason the Dominators are back is because of you, Barry, and more specifically, it's because of Flashpoint.
Yeah.
So we now tie Invasion
poor
very
Barry.
directly into the Flashpoint storyline, and I imagine that's going to be fairly divisive as well, as Flashpoint has been in general so far. Now that the two stories are so tightly connected to each other, how do you feel? What side of this great Flashpoint divide do you three come down on?
I really like that they brought it up and sort of tied it in with this because, I mean, this is the time travel show, and I like that Stein later brings up, like, Stein Point, where he screwed this up, and, you know, that's just sort of what happens when you start time traveling, Barry, and then it's just so interesting to see how they're like, yep, it's all your fault, Barry. But it actually wasn't. Yeah.
The one thing I worry about with Flashpoint is that they're going to turn Barry into Oliver. That's the one worry I have, because when they keep stacking regret and guilt on Barry, he just I even saw him in this episode when it turns out everything was because of Flashpoint. You saw Barry just go, oh man. I just don't want him to get moody. I don't want him to get... and that Flash is starting to get moodier and starting to get a little like...
Well, they allude a couple of times in this episode to the similarities in that sense between Oliver and Barry. Like, at the very end of the episode, Diggle says, I keep telling him you have to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Or Kara referencing Barry being too hard on himself the same way Oliver is, etc. He's like, that's what people normally tell me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just hope that he stays light. That's my only concern with all the Flashpoint stuff. I don't mind it though. I feel like it's a fun thing to do. It does bring up a lot of questions where one thing in Legends of Tomorrow is we never really see them worry about alternate timelines that much, to be honest.
This is something we talked about, I think, on the Flash panel on Tuesday, about how they got real tight about Barry creating Flashpoint, but they seem pretty cavalier about their adventures through time on their own show.
Yeah.
They're changing stuff all the time on Legends.
But they're using a fancy ship, and Barry's using his dumb feet. So
you see the difference.
They're so different.
Well, I wonder if maybe they've got something on the Wave Rider, like where Gideon can be like, danger, you're about to leave the mission zone, turn around, don't create an aberration.
Also, keep in mind, they don't have superhero ghosts on their trail like Barry has in the past, at least. That hasn't come back, but he's got Grim Reaper Flashes that might go after him, and now a speed god that he's fighting.
Yeah.
So, and the Wave Rider doesn't have that stuff, but I kind of wish they were a bit heavier on that and more worried about that, because now feels like they're starting to introduce the idea that Stein is real worried that the secret of his daughter is going to come out to the rest of the crew. And I keep thinking they won't care. Because no one really cares about, like, changing history for the most part.
It seems like once the Flash and the Green Arrow and Supergirl all go home, they're just going to go back to partying.
It's like, no, we're just going to go back to screwing up history. But that's what I love. And, I don't want Barry to turn into Oliver either. And that's sort of been a little bit noticeable in the Flash this season, it getting a little bit darker in tone like Arrow. But it's like what makes Barry one of my favorites is because he's like so gung-ho on everything. Like, he is a true hero, and same reason I like Ray Palmer. And then Dr. Haywood they're that geek guy that just wants to do good, and I don't want that to go away. Like Aaron Rodriguez says, no, I don't want Barry to act like Oliver. I don't like Oliver's personality. I couldn't agree more, man.
I mean, to be fair, not a lot of other characters seem to love Oliver all the time.
That's
true.
Not even Oliver.
Yeah.
Not even Oliver loves
He
himself.
hates himself the most.
Oh boy.
Though I feel like Barry becoming more moody. He doesn't, not necessarily like at Oliver's level of moody, but
Not Spider-Man 3 moody.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that is kind of what made this crossover work a little better in tone than I feel like the other crossovers did. In that before, when these shows, specifically Flash, premiered, it was very light. and Arrow was very dark, super self-serious, and they've kind of like evened out so that when you're going from show to show, the tone can remain fairly even because these characters now have more depth, and these characters are a little lighter. So I kind of like that idea. In terms of character, I do hope he does become a little more. I guess he becomes the bubbly berry that we've come to know.
Berry.
Bubbly berry.
Bubbly berry. Hashtag bubbly berry. Hashtag bubbly berry.
Okay. We just call him Bubs for short.
Yes, but Art Master Austin Prophet has a question for Tauri. Is there a female equivalent of Wasp from Marvel in the DC universe that Stein's daughter could become?
Not that I.
Oh yeah, that I don't think so. Like I mean, there's she could become White Bumblebee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a Bumblebee.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we just got a weird not Bumblebee in the last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
The cyber woman.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Cyber
Yeah,
Woman.
yeah.
She was basically Bumblebee, but like
But not really.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I could think of.
But
yeah.
if she
You
became
stumped
like
us,
a-
actually. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
I know. I
Fire
was
it.
like, why?
We
Yeah.
will address this. We're going to convene with Frank Moran probably, and then we will
Yeah.
get back to you.
This is a Frank question.
So Barry and the rest of them are told that the Dominators are here because of Flashpoint, and this is where we get into the elements of the story that are pulled most directly from the comic. The Dominators say, you hand over the Flash to us, or we're going to detonate this meta bomb, which is going to kill all of the metahumans. In the original Invasion comic book story, a similar ultimatum was issued. It's either turn over all of your metahumans, all of your superpowered people, or we're going to gene bomb the bunk out of all y'all. And Earth basically gives them the finger and they fight. But then a young upstart Dominator detonates the gene bomb on his own, and what it does is basically robs the metas of their powers, if they have any, makes them fall into a coma, and then they die.
Okay.
So not great, not really what you want, ideally.
Yeah.
But that is the ultimatum that they issue here.
Right. It was so close to the Medusa
Yeah.
from Supergirl
Yeah.
that it was uncomfortable for me. It kind of felt like they either should have, I think you were talking about how they should have tied them together, like made that the Medusa,
Yeah.
or used the Medusa against them or something. That I wish there was some tie with that Supergirl episode than just the beginning. It just made me think of that.
Yeah, that really would have worked out a little bit more for me as well, is to tie in Medusa, since that was sort of the beginning of the crossover.
Yeah.
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 Ish.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
All you, son.
No, you.
Hey, no, you.
I was gonna move on a little bit. So
Yeah, fight about it.
okay.
Fight about it. Conflict.
Pa-pow,
Drama.
pa-pow.
Drama.
I'm gonna take this.
First we fight and then we're friends.
It's like a
That's how
CW
crossover.
show.
Dominators. I like that it was a big, giant, like, fake out, though. I like that they're like, we're gonna bomb you anyway.
Yes.
Whether you give it to us or not.
Yes.
It's great. Because usually these things, you know, the good guy gives himself up and then, like, gives them a speech about his virtue, and they're like, you're right, maybe things aren't so bad. Maybe we can blah, blah, blah. But they're like, no, you must be stopped. We are gonna murder you.
Yeah.
Right.
What I loved about it
Yeah.
was actually how they defeated the bomb, which I'm super excited about, and I wish actually Frank was here to share this with me.
Yeah, you and I are gonna like gush simultaneously when we get to that.
So can we get to it now?
Let's just get to it now.
Let's just get to it now. So we got to see Firestorm Transmute, which I'm curious about if there's any kind of light fans that have been watching the show and don't really know the comics who were very confused by that, because I feel like most people might have forgotten that Firestorm can transmute stuff.
Yeah, very lightly have they set up his powers of transmutation at all.
It was one episode where he turned, like, something else into water, right?
I think it was another bomb.
Yeah.
Does he just
He
do
only
that to
turns
bombs?
into bombs, yeah.
Yeah, so I wish, and we were talking, I remember Frank mentioned earlier, there's that one episode where you got to see him kind of melt, or like, or hit a lot of bullets that are in the air.
Yeah.
But we wish that he transmuted them into like something cool to kind of show that off. And he might have done that, but it looked like he just melted them. So with fire, because you kind of feel like all of his powers are just fire related.
Right.
And it was nice to see him do stuff that isn't fire related because we already have Heat Wave. So, and actually transmute a giant bomb was great.
It was, for me, pure magic. I mean, you've got Cisco and Sarah, two characters, again, like I was saying before, who's like, I want more of them together now, too.
Yeah.
In the Wave Rider, holding this giant device while we've got Firestorm using his powers of transmutation on it to turn it into water. It's magic.
Yes. And literal magic.
Literal magic. And also from a writer standpoint, it's nice to have like B and C stories kind of help the A story by the end of it, and that doesn't always happen, especially in these CW shows. Sometimes they feel like, oh, and don't forget that I'm fine with you now, Supergirl. You know, that happens sometimes. But this one, you actually had Stein and thus Firestorm kind of realize that they need to kind of commit because of Stein's daughter.
Yes.
So it was a nice influence to be like, okay, we can do this. We have to do this. I have a daughter now. And that was actually pretty good writing. So that was nice to see.
No, say something.
I was just gonna say there's a lot of stuff in the last third of this episode that was just pure candy for me. And I want to talk to you guys about this big giant fight sequence that we get. Really quickly before that, we do get the scene where Barry says, I'm going to turn myself in, and everybody's like, no, Barry, don't. Which is, we knew some version of that had to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I just loved the One Army. Like, it was so cheesy.
Did you forget all of your friends are here?
Do we have to pose again? Okay, I guess we're going to have to all pose again. Everyone get together. Get into your spot. No, Firestorm's over there. Supergirl's over here.
And then they all said their name in order.
Yes. Don't forget, we're all in the same room.
Yeah. But it was so cheesy, but like perfectly cheesy in this crossover. Like, yep, there's a bunch of us.
Yes. It was Mick compares them to criminals, which is very nice.
Yeah, I loved it. And then Barry calling it out was funny. I was like, oh, this is so superhero-y.
And then our assembled heroes fight a bunch of Dominators on a roof.
Yep.
So overall thoughts and favorite moments from this extended fight sequence.
Okay, this is the one moment I saw, and this is me being nitpicky, but I do feel like we had Vixen transform into an elephant or have the powers of an elephant. And I was like, cool, this is going to be cool. And then she starts kicking stuff.
Yeah.
Like an elephant does.
Yeah.
Of course.
Like with cool high kicks like an elephant does. She should be doing elephant things,
But I guess
right?
it's maybe she's got now the proportional strength of an elephant.
Yes.
I guess, but I feel like, maybe I'm just fuzzy with how Vixen's powers
I guess you
work.
could charge him. She could shoulder charge him.
But yeah, I feel like if she's gonna, because why isn't she just I feel like when she turns into a gorilla, she's able to hit people like kind of a gorilla and knock people aside and have really strong upper body strength. So if she's an elephant, she should be as massive, not like physically massive as an elephant, but like have the mass and gravity of an elephant. So maybe she'll just like hit the ground and it'll cave in, or on the roof or something.
Maybe there's a chance that she put all of the nanites in her mouth and then sprayed them like an elephant would from her trunk.
Right.
That seems
That would be
logical.
perfect.
So,
Just put her in her nose.
Yeah.
She can grab things with her nose now.
Right.
That would be perfect.
That's the elephant power.
That's the
grabbing.
elephant in the room.
Indeed.
Or she could just charge. She could just, it could be the same power as
No.
the rhino and just charge.
Right. You just run at him.
It's the same thing. It could be scary.
My favorite part about this fight sequence isn't even the fight. It was the moment when Barry and Supergirl are rushing off to plant the nanites on each of the
all
Dominators.
over the globe.
And that's just phenomenal.
Amazing!
That was cool.
But also when Barry gets butt hurt because Felicity was like, Supergirl will do it.
It's specifically, this looks like a job for Supergirl.
Yes.
And that was so adorable. And Lex did his best Felicity just a second ago. That was so awesome.
Oh, also Flash. Also meant for Supergirl and Flash. That was also a great moment for Felicity. I thought that was great.
Did anyone else notice, or is it just me though, when you've got so when the fight first begins and we've got our heroes running at the aliens and they hit, the shot that we get is almost exactly the shot from Captain America Civil War when the two sides hit each other, except instead of pushing forward through them, we're pulling back through them.
Right. I think it's the 2-page panel.
Yes.
I think that's what we're looking at, and it's just it kind of just looks like that.
Oh yeah, and that's not a criticism.
No.
That's not to say how dare they do that thing that the other thing did. No, I loved it.
Oh yeah.
And I love every moment in this crossover shows where they do tag team stuff.
Yes.
Like whenever they have Supergirl throw someone and then the Flash clothesline them, stuff like that. I love every time they do stuff like that.
It's just cute. Like, tag.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that when Oliver's falling off of the building and Kara catches him, I didn't get a little glassy-eyed.
Yeah, I love that because she's like, yeah, I did it.
That, but again, this stuff it's candy, but it's straight up magic for me. And moments like that,
Right.
It's we couldn't have. I don't know about you guys. I couldn't have imagined that this was going to be the story they were telling on the CW even a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
I am glad this is moving ahead a little bit, but I'm glad I had my moment and I was like, they better make a meta Brandon Routh Superman joke.
We finally get our Superman Returns joke.
I was so happy.
It took a while, but I'm like, I was like, what? At the Flash episode, I'm like, you missed it. You missed him going he could have at least said, that's a cool costume. I would love to be in that. That's a much better costume than the one I have on currently. Something like that. But instead, I love they actually did it really well when she dresses up as that. And then he says, oh, she kind of looks like my cousin. Although, it happens right after Felicity's she looks just like me. And then Brandon Routh's she looks like my cousin. Remember, they were in a relationship for quite a while.
Yeah,
I
we were just reminded of
prefer
that.
them to be together.
But there is that moment where they both react oh, wait a minute. And you could read it as we're reacting to the fact that we just did a meta joke, or you could read it as we're reacting to the fact that you just said, I look a lot like your cousin.
And then we're,
Yeah. But okay, so I love the fact that we actually take the time in this episode to wrap things up.
Yes.
We beat back the Dominators, they actually retreat, they're leaving Earth, and we get to have a fun party.
Yeah.
We also get a hero ceremony where we meet the new president. And we get a lady president on this Earth as well.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That makes me very happy.
Yeah, it's nice to get a lady president
Black
somewhere.
lady president.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the best part is Nick's is it just me or is she hot to Sarah? And she's like, she's hot. I love them broing out. They need to be best friends. And she needs to be his wingman.
Yeah.
I do think, though, my favorite Mick moment in this episode is at the end when they're saying goodbye to Kara. He says, skirt, call me.
Call me.
And then we cut to a shot of Kara's reaction, and she looks genuinely upset back then.
Yeah. She was so good in this whole crossover, just seeing her react to everyone and having her. She does a great job of being really optimistic, but still fun and not it's still a human, but very someone who's bubbly and positive all the time.
Yeah, that's what I like about Supergirl is it's sort of taken on the tone as when Flash first started as that positive, real hero. I mean, Kara is probably, objectively the greatest hero there is because she's truly selfless. Yeah. And so far hasn't really screwed that much up. But, we're only on season 2.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing she did screw up was referring to everyone as Earth's mightiest heroes. Am I right?
The next crossover is them going to be fighting litigation from the Walt Disney Corporation.
I know, Zach was already tweeting about that, our Marvel guy here at AfterBuzz, and I was like, shots fired. It's like, yeah, that's right. Burn.
I'm surprised they didn't, because they kept hanging out of the Star Labs warehouse that they kept having. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was definitely going to become the Justice League.
Yeah, I think
it is the Hall of Justice.
Hall of Justice.
And they say it's a hall that Star Labs owns.
But they never say Hall of Justice.
No, I think we'll get there.
Okay.
Maybe,
Yeah.
like season 14.
Hopefully, if they're able to get, because there's still the Justice League movie coming on, I bet there's still some trouble there.
Right.
I do like, before we totally move on, one thing in this scene is I like that Supergirl becomes Spider-Gwen of this universe.
Yes, they basically give her a little device so that she can jump back and forth between the dimensions whenever she needs to.
Which is great, and I like that because it means there can be more crossovers without
Yes.
it being a whole hoopla, which is cool. And also, in a previous episode, I want to talk about this in the Legends, that we have Baby Cisco redoing the Atom suit, which is nice to hear.
Yes.
And maybe we'll get a better Atom
It
suit.
will make you and Frank very happy.
I don't think it's going to be a belt. I don't think it's going to be a belt and spandex like I want it to be, but I think it will be maybe at least a better design.
You know I want the belt and spandex.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are running low on time, but Kara does return home after, though, telling Agent Smith that she got him sent off to Antarctica, and he goes, grumble, 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 grumble.
When I'm old, I'm going to die there.
Dig doesn't necessarily explicitly forgive Barry for gender swapping his daughter through time travel, but he does impart the message that he has to learn how to forgive himself,
Right.
which is more important. And then we get this last scene, which is Oliver and Barry hanging out, having a beer. I loved this.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
liked it too.
Yeah, it was nice. At first, I was a little like, oh, they're not giving it. They should give it to the Legends of Tomorrow because it's the Legends of Tomorrow show. Why don't they have the last word? But it was nice, and it was really they are the captains and leaders of this universe. So it was nice to see them have a powwow right at the end.
And I loved the idea that they've both seen what their lives could be if it wasn't this, and they realize this wouldn't be worth it.
That actually made me like the Arrow episode a lot more.
Yes.
Because to me, that episode was it was just the Supergirl episode that was that Alan Moore story. And it kind of felt like, that they're just exploring the best possible scenario. So it didn't seem that unique to me. But as soon as I realized in this scene that they both have seen kind of the brighter side, the greener side, that was kind of nice. That was nice.
Yeah, and I will say, too, that final toast between the two of them to things not being normal, to life being full, I got glassy-eyed again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, so that's the crossover. And we are running super low on time, but I really quickly want to get everybody's thoughts on this episode, final thoughts on the CW-DC crossover as a whole. Go.
Right.
This was definitely the best crossover. I know, now that we have all 4 shows, they were actually able to give a good service, spread it out, on 3 and, a quarter of a night with the Supergirl one, but it set it up really well. And I just have to say, good job, DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow clap.
No,
I
agree.
was like, no enjoyment.
yeah.
It just got really weird. Like, not another team movie here.
I know, I agree. Like the way this was executed with all the episodes and all the different shows having mysteries that they could reveal in this crossover was a really good way of having actual stakes in the crossover. Like the previous ones were kind of just one-off things that happened, but these allowed us to really have a through line that also affects everything that happens following the crossovers, which is really nice. And I loved just how fun everything was. You got to experience. I say this all the time, but you got to experience these comics that you grow up with in real life, and you feel them, and you have this visceral reaction, much like Lex always does with where
And the internet is screaming for
visceral.
those videos, by the way.
yeah, because they're great.
One day it will happen.
Yeah.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will watch this again, probably multiple times, because it sits up by itself as well.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I like that they built up to it in the previous episodes, before even the crossover was happening. I like that it was a built up, and the one criticism I have is I feel like the Flash episode felt rushed to me, and I feel like they were trying to get to the meat of it, and then Arrow felt like its own thing, and this one actually was well paced out and had a feeling of pacing, and I wish all the episodes kind of felt like that, and maybe they could have done that if they had more of a crossover episode with Supergirl. They could have expanded more, but it was still great. I still had a lot of fun, especially in this episode. So I liked it, and I can't wait till they do it again. I want them to do it like every year, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I loved it. It's interesting. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about what DC's doing at the movies, but I don't know how mad you could possibly be if you are mad when you've got DC doing what they're doing now on TV.
Right.
What Marvel's given me at the cinema, DC is giving me in my home weekly, which is bonkers to me. They have created a TV experience that is so akin to reading a comic book crossover event. That is so exciting to me personally, and I think DC movies, they tend to be deconstructing their characters. I think DC TV shows are really building their heroes up, and I love it. Makes me insanely happy. So yes, big thumbs up all around.
Big thumbs
up. Indeed. And that is going to do it for our Legends of Tomorrow after show this week and for our discussions of the DC CW crossover. We will be back next week to talk about the mid-season finale, but in the meantime, where can everybody find you guys online?
Well, you could find me at mrdavechild or davechild.com because my name is Dave Child.
And you can find me at Tauri J, Taurijay.
Since I'm Lacretia Lyon, guys, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
And I am all over social media at the Lex Michael. Frank Moran will be back with us next week. We hope, if the Dominators let him go. Tweet him at HappyGoJackie. We will see you back here next week to talk about the mid-season finale. We're very excited. We love you. Good night.
I won't be. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
#SteinPoint. Buns of Steel.
From executive producers
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.